Karen's sneer could curdle milk from a mile away. She waddled onto my ranch like she owned every blade of grass, her voice already barking orders before her feet hit the dirt. As the HOA president, Karen had a knack for turning neighbors into enemies. But this time, she'd crossed a line so bold it might as well have been painted in blood. Her latest crusade, letting armed hunters onto my land, oblivious to the fact that my bulls rare, federally protected behemoths were grazing in the crosshairs. It started with a letter, slipped under my door like a coward's calling card. "Your ranch is an eyesore," it read, in Karen's unmistakable scrawl. "And those filthy cows are scaring the neighborhood kids." Cows. My bulls were no barnyard heifers. They were a rare breed, part of a conservation program backed by federal law. I'd spent years nurturing them, restoring this patch of Wyoming wilderness into a sanctuary. But Karen, with her manicured nails and her inflated sense of power, didn't care about facts. She cared about control. I ignored the letter, figuring she'd tire herself out. Big mistake. By noon the next day, I heard the crunch of tires on my gravel drive. Peering out my window, I saw Karen's oversized SUV, followed by two pickup trucks loaded with hunter's gruff men in camo, rifles gleaming in the sunlight. My stomach dropped. I grabbed my hat and stormed outside, my boots kicking up dust as I marched toward the gate. "Karen," I shouted, my voice cutting through the dry air. "What the hell are you doing?" She turned, her jowls quivering with indignation. "This is HOA business, Tom," she snapped, folding her arms over her ill-fitting blazer. "Your land's a hazard, and these gentlemen are here to clean up your mess. Those beasts of yours are a danger to the community." "Danger?" I spat, pointing toward the herd grazing peacefully in the distance. "Those are federally protected bulls. Karen, you let hunters onto my land without permission. You're begging for trouble." The hunters exchanged uneasy glances, their rifles still slung over their shoulders. One of them, a wiry man with a scruffy beard, stepped forward. "Ma'am, you said this was all cleared. We got permits for big game. Not whatever those are." Karen's face reddened, but she doubled down. "Permits. I'm the HOA president. My word is the permit around here." She jabbed a finger at me. "Tom, you're lucky I don't have your whole operation shut down for noncompliance." I could have laughed if I wasn't so furious. Noncompliance. The woman who couldn't read a zoning law to save her life was lecturing me about compliance. I took a step closer, lowering my voice to a growl. "You've got no jurisdiction here. Karen, this ranch predates your precious HOA by a century. Those bulls are protected by the Endangered Species Act. You let these men shoot one, and you're looking at federal charges." Her eyes narrowed, but I saw a flicker of doubt. She didn't know. Of course she didn't. Karen never bothered with details. She just swung her authority like a sledgehammer and expected everyone to duck. But the hunters weren't buying it anymore. The wiry one, who seemed to be the leader, turned to his buddy. "This don't sound right. Mike, let's pack it up." "Don't you dare leave," Karen shrieked, her voice hitting a pitch that could shatter glass. "I paid you to handle this. Do your job." That's when the local wildlife officer showed up. His truck pulled in quietly, almost unnoticed in the chaos. Officer Daniels was a lanky man, all sinew and sunburn, with a clipboard that held more power than Karen's entire HOA rulebook. He stepped out, tipped his hat, and fixed Karen with a stare that could freeze a river. "Ma'am, he said, his voice calm but sharp. I got a call about unauthorized hunting on protected land. Care to explain? Karen's bravado faltered. She stammered, pointing at me like a child caught stealing cookies. It's his fault. His animals are a menace. I was just protecting the neighborhood. Daniels didn't blink. He walked over to the fence, eyeing the bulls in the distance. Those are Wyoming longhorns. Ma'am. Federally protected. Hunting them carries a $50,000 fine per animal, plus jail time. And you, he turned to the hunters, who were already backing toward their trucks. You got permits for this. The wiry hunter shook his head, his face pale. She told us it was all legal. Said it was just wild cattle. Daniels scribbled something on his clipboard, then looked at Karen. You authorized this. Karen's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. I didn't know they were protected. This is Tom's fault for keeping dangerous animals. Enough. Daniels snapped. You trespassed, endangered a protected species, and misled these men. You're coming with me to answer some questions. The hunters didn't wait for another word. They piled into their trucks and peeled out, leaving a cloud of dust in their wake. Karen, however, wasn't going down without a fight. She planted her feet and crossed her arms. You can't arrest me. I'm the HOA president. I'll have your badge for this. Daniels didn't flinch. Ma'am, I don't care if you're the Queen of England. You broke federal law. You can come quietly, or I can call for backup. The standoff lasted maybe 10 seconds, but it felt like an hour. Karen's face twisted with rage, then crumpled into something almost pitiful. She knew she was cornered. With a huff, she stomped toward Daniel's truck, muttering about lawsuits and her rights. I watched her go, a strange mix of satisfaction and exhaustion settling in my chest. But the story didn't end there. Word spread fast in our small town. By the next morning, Karen's face was plastered across local news sites. HOA president faces federal charges for endangering protected species. The comments section was brutal. Neighbors she'd bullied for years aired every grievance. From her fining people for unapproved mailboxes to her screaming at kids for riding bikes too fast. Karen's reign of terror was unraveling, and the town was eating it up. I got a call from Daniels a week later. Karen had tried to pin the whole thing on me, claiming I'd misled her about the bulls. But the evidence was ironclad. Her letters, her emails to the hunters, even a voicemail where she bragged about taking care of Tom's mess. She was facing hefty fines and community service, and the HOA was already moving to replace her. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe on my own land. But the real victory wasn't just Karen's downfall. It was the bulls. They grazed on, oblivious to the chaos. Their massive forms a reminder of something bigger than all of us. They weren't just animals, they were a legacy. A piece of the wild that I'd fought to protect. Karen thought she could bulldoze her way through life, trampling anything that didn't fit her vision of order. She didn't just lose to me. She lost to the land itself. As I leaned against the fence, watching the sun set over the herd, I thought about how close we'd come to disaster. Karen's arrogance could have cost lives, animal and human. But in the end, her own hubris was her undoing. The bulls were safe. The ranch was mine. And Karen, she'd be picking up trash by the highway for months. Her HOA crowned nothing but a bitter memory. The end.